Hello, I'm DC Padur. I'm a principal program manager in the SharePoint team at Microsoft.
And I'm Adam Ford, design manager for SharePoint sites and pages.
In this video, we will look at how to build and launch a SharePoint home site. Adam and I from the product team would like to share tips and tricks that help you get started and have a great experience with the launch of your SharePoint home site. Before we get started, we wanted to have a few recommended videos for pre-watching, and these are videos that help establish a foundation of understanding of SharePoint in Microsoft 365. What is SharePoint? How do you use communication sites? What are the pages technology, and how do you use that to create beautiful pages in SharePoint? All of these things would help you understand the basic concepts upon which we build for helping you build the top of your intranet site, which is the home site. Before we get started, we want to talk about what is a home site. So a home site is the top of your internet. It is the most important digital estate in your organization. It is the landing experience for all of your users. And this is where your most important branding and cultural significance is surfaced. An important aspect of this experience is that it be inclusive and be personal to every user that's visiting that site and be available on all the devices and experiences that your users are comfortable with. To get started, this video is mostly about helping customers and who are thinking about rebuilding their intranet, thinking about how do you take what you already have and bring it into SharePoint and Microsoft 365? How do you use the available experiences out of the box product experiences in SharePoint and deliver the customer experience that you really want? And how do where do you get for ideas? How do you look for inspiration? Where do you look for inspiration? So this video is to help answer those questions. It provides a framework for how you want to think about the entire problem, ideas and inspiration for bringing all the features together to deliver a cohesive experience, and the how and why. How exactly do we go about getting this home site, and why should you care about that, and how is Microsoft 365 uniquely delivering value with this proposition? The three stages of a home site, as we see it from the product team, is the first phase of planning, and then building and launch. So the planning phase is probably really important for making sure that you have a successful experience. You want to make sure that you spend some time thinking about what you want out of your home site, the top of the internet, how it connects to the rest of your digital estate, and and what are all the experiences that you want to put into your home site, and then actually go build it with the out-of-box experiences, stitch together the various out-of-box publishing system features, and then actually launch the site in a performant way, make sure that all the experiences are accessible, and then have it available to your end users when they need it. And last but not least, how do you make sure that your home site is continuously delivering interesting value to your end users? How do you keep it fresh? So we start with the planning of the internet architecture. The typical questions I get from customers are, why do I need this? Why do I want a home site? And then we get into how do you actually go get it? Where should I build the home site? Which site should it be? How does it connect with the rest of the hubs in my organization? Should my home site be hubs? There are various questions to be answered, and there is no one boilerplate answer for all of the customers. To each their own. And we help you understand what these individual concepts mean and how to put them together in your organization to have a successful home site. So to begin with, we'll talk about why do you need a home site? As I mentioned, the home site is the top of your internet. But in Microsoft, in SharePoint, a home site is also a souped up, communication site with superpowers. The search in that site is automatically configured to be your organization-wide. The new site is set up to be an organizational news site, and this site will have a unique home button entry point in the SharePoint mobile app. While these experiences are available right now, we are also working on two additional superpowers for a home site. One where the global navigation curation is possible off of the home site, and the second where having a home site lets you pin the home site as an app in your team's experience. And these are features that we'll be rolling out over the next couple of quarters. Let's walk through a demo.
In this demo, we'll be looking at how to make this communication site in this organization into a home site. This elevation of a communication site to a home site is done with SharePoint PowerShell experience. To do that, you will have to download the SharePoint management shell from Microsoft Download Center. And once you have downloaded and installed the management shell, you can open it up, run these commands to get connected to the admin center of that organization. And once you connect to the service, you will be able to run a PowerShell commandlet called set SPO home site with the appropriate name of the home site URL. And now that sets this particular communication site as the home site of your organization. You can have only one home site in your organization, so you can use this commandlet to set any one communication site in your organization to be the home site. If you choose to change your mind and set a different site, you can come back and execute the same PowerShell and provide a different URL, and that one will be set as the home site of your organization. This site, when it becomes a home site, you will notice that the search experience in this site will be set to be tenant wide. As you can see, the search became search in SharePoint. This now confirms that this site is the home site of your organization. By the end of this year, one of the capabilities of having a home site, as I mentioned, would be the ability to curate global navigation. Another way to know that this site is your home site would be that you will now have an affordance to manage global navigation from this site.
We will now look at an established home site of this organization, Contoso Electronics, and talk about the crucial architectural elements, the information architectural elements that went into designing the site that might help you understand how you should do this in your organization. As you can see, this site has a site navigation, which is using the out-of-the-box mega menu experience, and there are several links in here that pertain to the usage of this site itself. And when you scroll through the content of the page, there is an employee resources quick links web part, which is essentially links to important content that is relevant to your organization's employees. And with the audience targeting capability of this quick links web part feature that's going to be rolling out later this year, 2020, you can now have targeted content being showing to your employees resources section based on who is showing up on the site. If you scroll all the way down, there is the footer element, which is using the recently rolled out extended footer layout that lays out the important resources, not quite as important as the site navigation, but relevant footer level articles like privacy policy and terms of use that typically show up at the bottom of your page. This can also be audience targeted to make sure that these links can pertain to be relevant to the user that's visiting the site. Both of these navigation elements help anchor the user to the architecture in your organization. And rolling out shortly is what's known as the global navigation, the SharePoint app bar driven global navigation on the left side of your screen. So as you can see, you have the home button, you have your frequent sites and all of these experiences, and that is curatable with the experience of your global navigation settings. So you want to think about this global navigation bar as something that shows up across the entire SharePoint experience for your users, and you want to put information in there that would be pertaining to a user tools and resources and other line of business applications that might be useful for your users as wherever they are in SharePoint in Office 365. Those links can also be audience targeted, and that setup can be done from this home site, and this is a feature that will be rolling out over the next quarter by the end of calendar year 2020. Now that we've actually seen a home site in action, it's important to understand how this home site was structured and how that matters to you in your organization. How do you take this learning and apply it to your situation? So as we mentioned, the home site is the top of your intranet, and you might have other important organizational or functional units inside your organization that require to be top level sites, highly traffic sites like your HR or the sales or the marketing, each of which could be a hub. And then each of those hubs could have sub hubs under them that will get connected to them through navigation. And as I mentioned, we are about to launch the SharePoint app bar that I just showed you off of the Contoso demo right now. And that SharePoint app bar is this persistent experience across any user's SharePoint web experience that helps them connect to the important digital entities in your organization. So this is very important to think about. How do you design the intranet architecture? How do you think about what goes on your home site? We have recommendations for what are typically put in the global navigation powered by the SharePoint app bar, and the home site navigation where important news and information is surfaced, and it's a landing experience, branding presence, and important news and organizational profiles and leadership team definitions and topics of interest, public social feeds. All of these could be part of the navigation and content of your home site itself. As I mentioned, one of the superpowers that we are also working on is the ability to have the home site experience brought into Teams, having your intranet where all of your users are, which is in Teams. So having a home site enables the experience where you can configure the home site to show up as an app on the left nav bar there, and clicking on that opens up the global navigation content, right, like it used to show in the web experience. And it has this fully immersive full screen site experience, contextual actions, supports the internet search, and one-stop access to all of the company resources through the navigation. The setup process, as I mentioned, is a superpower of the home site. Once you make a communication site the home site, it automatically renders an entry point for the administrator of that home site to create the home site app that helps you have the Steam site experience. An important aspect of having a home site is figuring out where you want to actually build that home site. And typically the root site of your organization, which is the shortest URL, the contosodemo.sharepoint.com, the shortest URL site, is typically a great location to have the top of your internet. And customers who've been long subscribers of Microsoft 365 have had classic experience. Now we have a feature that allows you to have the SharePoint communication experience brought into the classic experience. And now we'll look at a demo of that experience.
In this demo, we will look at how to enable the SharePoint communication site experiences on classic team site experiences. The root site of organizations, especially those created a long time ago, have a classic experience just like the one that you're seeing right now. And many organizations have used this root site because of its short URL to have the most important company resources surfaced on that site. We now have the ability to bring in the SharePoint communication site experience into this classic team site and give it a facelet and get all the benefits of having a modern communication site as the intranet home, as the top of your internet for your organization. To do that, you begin by installing the SharePoint Online Management Shell. And once you've installed it, you would need the SharePoint admin credentials to get started with this. So you open the SharePoint Online Management Shell, you provide the credentials, and then you connect to the service using these commands. And once you connected to the service, there is a simple commandlet called enable SPO com site. You need to provide the URL, where I copied this URL from the site here, provide that as input here, and you will see that within a few minutes the communication site experience will be enabled on the site. So you come back to this browser experience. Just for comparison, I'm going to open this in a different tab. Let's try that again. Let's open the home page of the site in a different tab. And voila, there you see. Now you have the communication site experience on this site, and now you can build your intranet home using all the affordances of the SharePoint communication site on this root site of your organization.
As you're developing a plan for the IA and content of your home site, it's time to start thinking about the design. We have a great resource available to you via the SharePoint Lookbook. Let's look at a demo for the SharePoint Lookbook now.
In this demo, we'll take a look at the SharePoint Lookbook and some example sites you can provision as a starting point for your home site. So if you navigate to lookbook.microsoft.com in your browser, you'll see the SharePoint Lookbook. This is a great resource to get inspired and see some examples of what you can create for your sites. So if you scroll down here, you'll learn a little bit more about the sites that are available. And we have a tab section of a bunch of great examples with content, and you can see exactly how they've been built and structured. So some example sites for organizational sites, including what you would use as a home site, along with departmental, team, community, different solutions that Microsoft offers in the form of a site, and then a new tab that we've added for EDU specifically. And within here, there is a school homepage, which is a great starting point for a school home site. So now let's take a deeper dive into some of these examples that you might want to consider using as a starting point for your home site. So the first one is the landing. On this landing example, we use a vertical section over here on the right. Now, this is a great place for secondary content or personalized content targeted towards individual employees or groups and different organizations throughout your company. As you can see, there's a nice visual carousel here to communicate some news with some supporting news articles below, some information about a product launch. As you scroll down, you'll see My News here with some recommended videos to view and some social web parts using the new Yammer Conversations web part and the Twitter web part. Home site for EDU. This one's content is targeted towards K through 12, and it has some focus on resources for school staff, students, and teachers. As you scroll down, you can see maybe a message from the principal or the head of school supporting news, upcoming events, and then something that has more detail around their mission statement. So as you can see, the Lookbook's a great place to get inspired and jumpstart your home site creation. And these were just a few examples to help you start thinking about what the design of your home site could look like.
So the next phase is the build phase. In this phase, we'll look at a variety of content for your SharePoint home site. One is how you brand your site. How do you leverage your logo, theme, and the content for your site? Keeping in mind accessibility and the out-of-the-box features that we offer for your site content, thinking about the organization of sections, leveraging the right web parts. How do you personalize the content of the site? Using me-centric web parts and audience targeting. And then how do you think about the responsiveness of the home site, understanding how the sites reflow using best practices and the support we offer via the SharePoint mobile app. We'll also take a look at navigation and your configuration options there in order to connect across your various sites of the intranet, as well as multilingual, helping you reach individuals through your organization that speak different languages. To start, we'll consider the core elements of the SharePoint brand. We have features that enable you to support your logo on the home site, various navigational structures, theming, which allows you to leverage your company's color palette throughout the site, and then various options and layouts to support your content structure that you're after. So we'll take a look at a demo now around branding a home site.
In this demo, we'll look at an example home site. This is the landing home site, part of Contoso Electronics. And we'll take a deeper look at how exactly we integrated some of these branding elements and what options you have available to you, and a few that are coming soon. So you can see that we now have this nice extended header at the top. It gives you the ability to add a colored background or a graphic behind the logo for your home site. It allows you to kind of emphasize the brand of your company and gives you a few more options than we provided before. You can see that the color of the primary theme that we have chosen extends through the navigation. There's options that we'll go through in a minute that give you some control over this. And then it also provides some various variations of how you can structure navigation depending on how much content you have and how many pages you need to link to. As we scroll down here, you'll see another branding element in the form of a section background color. So here's a news web part highlighting some news articles, and there's this nice light teal that has been generated from that primary teal color that we decided to use for this site. You can see in the vertical section over here, there is also a neutral color that's being used, and you'll have control over this as well. So let's dive in a little bit more detail to see what options you have in terms of branding your site. So if you navigate up to the settings icon at the top here and click on it, you can see the various setting options they have available, and we're going to take a look at change the look here. When you open this panel, you'll see there's 4 options: theme, header, navigation, and footer. So if we open up theme, you'll see the current selected theme, the available company themes that have been created, and I will show you in another demo exactly how you can generate these themes, and then the SharePoint themes that are provided out of the box. So we've selected this teal theme based on a process we went through to generate this theme and upload it to our tenant. And as you select the header options, you can now see we have this extended header option selected. This gives you some options for images where you can adjust the background image and have control over the display of how that looks in combination with your logo. There's options now here for hiding site title visibility. This is a great one to toggle off for the extended header. If it's on, you'll see a text version of the landing. So you can toggle that off to just use your logo itself. And then there's options for logo alignment as well. So if you want it left aligned, centered, or right aligned, you can do that. The other options for the header are the minimal header, where it's small and to the left-hand corner, a compact header, which is a bit bigger, and the standard header. But we like this new extended header. It gives us a little bit more control over our brand, so we're gonna go back to that option. So any changes you make in here, you want to make sure you hit save as well, but since we didn't make any major changes, we'll go ahead and cancel and go back and look at the other options. So if you go into the navigation tab, we have 2 options available to you: a mega menu style and a cascading style. So we'll select cascading for the moment and take a look at what that looks like. So you can see now that the menus cascade out from themselves, where before we had the mega menu option. Navigating back to change the look. We'll go back to navigation and change that to mega menu. Go back and we'll look at the footer options that are available. So you can enable or disable the footer that appears at the bottom of the page. And then you have a few options here as well in terms of the background color for your footer, aligning with the theme colors that you've selected. You can add a logo if you would like to the bottom here as well. And then you can decide how much room it takes up on the bottom of the page. So we'll go ahead and hit save one more time. Go back to the mega menu option, and then you can close out of this panel. So one last thing we'll take a look at is the ability to change the background color of a section. So we'll navigate down to this section with news here. And if you click on the edit section options, it gives you the options to change the layout as well as the section background color. So these are generated based on your neutral colors that you've added to your theme and your primary color. So you can choose a lighter version if you want it to be dark, or what we call a strong version of that primary color. The text will reverse out automatically for you. And then you can also do a neutral. So we'll leave it at the soft background because we thought that looked pretty nice with the bold titles for the news articles. So there's a look at the branding options available to you on your home site.
So now you might be thinking, how do I build a site that works best for my company? How should I organize the layouts of the home site? Which web parts will work best for my content needs? How do I personalize or target content so it's relevant for each employee? And what is my site going to look like across different devices? Is it going to look great on mobile devices and tablet devices and large monitors? So now we'll take a look at a home site design, walk through it, and show you various tips and tricks to see how you can build a successful home site.
Now let's take a look at the landing's home site structure and organization and some of the decisions that were made when building this site. So we're on the landing homepage and we've been working on this site. So we'll go into edit mode on the upper right-hand corner. So clicking on that, it takes you in to edit your homepage, and we'll do a quick walkthrough of the web parts on this page and call out some tips and tricks that you may want to consider when thinking about building your home site. So on the top of the page, we're using the news web part. So if you open up the news web part, there's many options for configuration here, along with a variety of layouts. And we want to draw emphasis to some of our content that's coming from the corporate communications team. So we're going to use this tiles layout here. You also have control over posts, and you can filter the content as well as audience target this web part. Below that content, we have some on-demand videos that we're highlighting through a quick links web part. And again, like many of the other web parts, you can configure this with a variety of different layouts. Below that, again, we're using that section background color to really call out the brand of our home site, tying into our primary teal color that we mentioned before. And this is just some additional news content that's relevant for the home site. And below that, there's the hero web part, and we're using the layers layout here. And this is just a great way to call out maybe some cultural initiatives that are happening at your organization, a way to kind of gather and foster engagement. And then lower down the page, and this is something you should think about when you're thinking about hierarchy of your content for your home site. Starting with that really important information, maybe there are critical happenings in the company that you're communicating via the news web part, and then as you go down, thinking about how do you get engagement over some of this content. So there's a new Yammer Conversations web part, and that's a great way to get people to engage, to kind of check on the pulse of the organization. So I encourage everyone to check that out as well. And then in this case, we're also highlighting the Twitter web part that is, extends beyond the company internally itself. So now we'll go back up to the top and we'll take a look at the vertical section here. And in the vertical section, we recommend that you use this for secondary information, or it's a great place to have personalized web parts. So in our case, we chose to highlight just the local weather. And then below that, we're using the world clock because we have multiple offices, so it's easy for employees to kind of see the time differences between the two locations. We're featuring some links here, great place to put quick links to things like benefits or your 401k, time tracking, etc. And then as we go farther down, this is where we're highlighting some personalized web parts. So we have My News in this case. So if you look at this, you can see that we've chosen to use the list layout, and there's this option to recommend content for the current user. So this will automatically pull in news that is related to the current user leveraging the Microsoft Graph. And then as you go farther down the page, we have two more web parts that are personalized. The My Recent Documents, looking across the documents the viewer has created and bubbling those up, and their frequent sites. So that's a quick tour of the web parts and kind of how we thought about adding them to this home site. So now let's take a look at a couple more details. One thing to think about when you're building your home site is just the overall structure. I would recommend that you don't mix and match too many section structures with different column layouts. So going from a one column in this main content area to 3 columns to 2 columns to 1/3 column could get a little bit busy. So think about sort of simplicity in your layout. Maybe you start with a 1 column and then you have a pattern between 1/3 column and 1 column that continues down the rest of the page. As well, we encourage you to really think about using these section background colors. It's a great way, as we've mentioned, to integrate your brand. And you can see that some of these other theme elements appear automatically within some of the web parts. So things like news, for example, the icons and quick links are bringing in that primary theme color. So now I want to talk a little bit about audience targeting a web part. So we've built in audience targeting, if you're familiar with it, to news, and recently we've added it to the quick links web part. So in edit mode, now you can understand what's been targeted in quick links by this icon in the bottom right corner of these cards. And if you click on one of these cards, it'll open up that specific quick link where you can configure the settings and the link, the title that shows for that specific link. And now we have this new option where you can target this content to a specific group. So in this case, we've added the Contoso marketing team. And if we'll take a look at the link next to it, and this one is targeted towards the Contoso sales team. So you can do this and set up, multiple audiences in the same field. So if I want to put this to the Contoso marketing team, I can do that as well. And then that content will appear for those specific groups, but not for other ones. So we'll republish this page. And even though, the person we're logged into isn't part of all those groups, you can still see how that content changes when we publish the page. So they no longer see all the links that we were just configuring. They just see the links that they are members of those specific groups. So the last thing we'll cover is the responsive reflow of SharePoint pages. This is something to keep in mind when you're thinking about the design and building your home site. So in our example, we're using that vertical section. And as we reflow the page, we're using web best practices to make sure the content looks great in all devices, but it does still reflow. So in this case, the vertical section, and as we've recommended, that secondary information or personalized information actually drops to the bottom of the page. So you can see it here now in a wider format. And then as you go even smaller, we're optimizing for tablet and mobile phone screen sizes. So in this case, we've even convert some of the web part layouts to be optimized for mobile phones. So it's something to keep in mind as you're designing your website. It's worth testing on the most common devices your employees use. And with that, you'll be successful in making sure your site looks great on all devices.
As you've seen in the last portion of that demo, all SharePoint sites are responsive out of the box. Here's a few things to keep in mind as you think about building your home site. SharePoint sites are designed to reflow and support all devices, including mobile phone resolutions. Keep in mind that the vertical section drops to the bottom of the page at 1024 pixels and below. We recommend to test your site early on the most common devices your employees use. And remember, when you make home site, the SharePoint mobile app will get an icon on the top of the Find tab that allows your employees to easily access it from their mobile phones.
As you just saw, there are so many ways you can build an interesting site experience using SharePoint and Microsoft 365. But an important aspect of having a great experience with your internet is consuming content in your preferred language. As with many large organizations, if you have a diverse population in your user base, more than one language would be used in your in conducting your business. And an important aspect, and sometimes even a regulatory aspect of having an internet, is providing content in multiple languages. And SharePoint and Microsoft 365 supports multilingual intranets, especially the top of your internet, the home site. It's important to be able to create content which is of high fidelity. So we make sure that our publishing processes includes the original content creator in the default language, and the translators have effective workflows back and forth, keeping in mind that the end user's simplicity of experience is the most important. End users can switch between available published languages and have a great experience with the news rollup and highlighted content web parts. Now that we have seen how to think about building a home site, going through the information architecture planning, the design planning, and then actually using the features available in SharePoint and building the home site that you want, that uniquely reflects your branding and stands apart inside your intranet. It's time to think about how you would actually launch this intranet in your organization. Chances are typically you already have some sort of a top level intranet portal, either in a different platform or in the SharePoint on premises, or even in SharePoint online using some of the classic experiences. With modern SharePoint, you have the ability to launch a immersive experience that brings together all of the Office 365 applications and user experiences. But an important aspect of launching a home site is keeping in mind that it is performant. We have several built-in tools and browser extensions that allow you to check the performance of your site before you actually launch it. And as a part of the launch, you want to make sure that your users are aware of where this new site is. Are you replacing an existing site? Do you want to bring it into a separate launch experience? Do you want to be able to make it available to all end users wherever they are in Office 365? All of these things are important considerations. Setting up the global navigation and configuring the home site app and Teams is also key in making sure that your users can discover the site wherever they are. And once the actual launch is done, you want to make sure that you are able to monitor the usage of the site at the site level to understand the usage of your site and make sure that you can publish content that has the highest reach. And the last but not least, the most important thing is keeping the content fresh. There are many ways that we encourage our customers to keep the content fresh in the top of their internet, the home site. Another interesting way of doing it is to change the layout of the page. As Adam showed, SharePoint and Microsoft 365 is extremely capable in and easy to edit pages and replace the home page of your home site to make it look fresh and have your users be engaged all the time. We'll quickly do a demo of how you can build a site in your organization and then swap it to the root site location of your organization as the shortest URL that all of your users might quickly remember and access your home site.
In this demo, we will be looking at how a fully built communication site can be moved to the root location of your organization. Why would you want to do that? The root location of your organization, the root site, is the shortest URL in your organization, just like what you're seeing in here. And many customers, many organizations find that as an easy way to access the top intranet portal of your organization, the home site of your organization. So in this demo, we will show how the landing, which is the intranet home site of this organization, can be built as a different site collection and then swapped to the root site location from the SharePoint Admin Center. So as you can see, this is the communication site that's been built out, and we would want this to occupy the root site location of this organization. And for that, we will head over to the SharePoint Admin Center, and in the active sites location in the left navigation, you will see that you can find the root site in the active sites list. Select that, and once you select that, you would see this replace site option here. Click on this, and now you just paste the URL of the site which you want to bring into this root site location. And now you have the approval that the site can be used as root site, and click on save. And just in a matter of minutes, you will see that the newly built out the landing site will be the root site of your organization, and all the users, all the people in your organization that are familiar with accessing your intranet with the shortest URL will now start seeing the modern communication site experience based home site in your organization. And we'll let this finish, and boom, it's done. So we will go back to the root site. Now this is the modern your root site is now the home site of your organization. Please remember to make this site as your home site after you swapped it to the root site location of your organization.
A great way for users to access sites is through the app launcher. Now let's take a look at this demo. A great way for users to access all the applications and important resources available to them is through the app launcher, the Office 365 app launcher, the familiar waffle menu on the top left side of a browser. When users click on it, they have access to all of the applications and resources that they have access to. A great way to have your home site be available to all your users is to have your home site be pinned as an app in this experience. This demo will show you how to get that experience. As the global administrator, log into your office.com, click on the admin experience that brings you to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and right there in the Admin Centers section on the left navigation, click on Azure Active Directory. Now this is a three-step process. We first create the application for your home site, then assign owners and users, and then go configure the application with the right URL and the branding logo. The last step will be where you actually pin that application as one of the pinned apps in the app launcher for all of your users. So we'll begin with look at the enterprise applications here. Click on new application, choose the non-gallery application or custom application as the case may be in your experience, and pick the name. In this case it will be the landing. I've created the application. Now I will go ahead and add owners of this application, and in this case I'm going to pick this user and the regular admin user. I'm going to assign these as owners of this application, and I will go assign users. What you want to make sure is that all the users in your organization have been assigned to this application using either a dynamic security group or a security group where every user is explicitly assigned. In this case, I'm just picking both the security groups just for completeness. So now you've assigned all of the users in this application. Next important thing to do is to assign a logo for this application. As you can see, this logo is a out of the box experience, so now we can go ahead and change this. I'm going to pick this H experience here, and that is a logo. Make sure to go ahead and save this. An important aspect of this is to make sure the home page URL is the right URL. So you would go back into Azure Active Directory, go to the app registrations experience, click on landing, go to the branding experience here, and make sure you have the right URL. Remove the default URL that shows up here. Enter the URL of your home site, which is the contoso-demohubs.sharepoint.com, and save this. So now you have the homepage URL set up. Now let's go back to the enterprise applications list here. So now your application is showing up. Let's go to the landing again, and under single sign-on, make sure it's linked and have the URL that you type in here and save this. So now you've created an application, assigned the owners, assigned users to this application, applied the branding logo, and configured the homepage URL and the sign-on URL to point to the home site URL of your organization. So this app is now ready to be pinned for all users in your organization. And that's done by going back into the enterprise applications experience, and there is a user settings tab in here. Go ahead and click on that. I'm going to collapse this nav and click on this here. If you scroll down, you will see there is an option for add application. I'm going to click on this, select the landing as the application. Don't mind about the logo. It takes a few minutes for the logo that we uploaded to propagate through the environments, but go ahead and click add in here. The logo will finally show it refreshed. As you can see, I've just refreshed this page. You can see the application here with the right logo. The status is fine, and you click on the application just to check all the content. So the properties are fine. You've got the right URLs, the right name, and the right logos. And now you're ready to go. And in a few minutes, this setting is propagated through all the users. And the next time any user logs into their office.com experience, they will actually be able to see the landing showing up as one of the apps on their app launcher experience. So from the day one of any new person joining your organization, they'll have access to your home site through the familiar app launcher. To check that our pinning experience worked, let's log into this office.com account as a different user. In this case, I will pick Lydia as the user to see if the pinned app, which is the home site app experience in the Office app launcher, shows up for this user when they log in. So now I've logged in here as Lydia. I have my typical office.com experience, and when I go to the app launcher on the top left, there you go. Now you have the landing as the home site. The app that you pinned from the Azure Active Directory is now available for all users. Clicking on that will take them to the home site of the organization right away. This is a great way for your home site to be visible and accessible to all of your users.
In this demo, we'll look at how to bring your organization's branding into the Office 365 navigation using custom theming, so you have a consistent experience across various applications in Office 365 and enable a great way to get back to the home site of your organization. As you can see in this example, Contuso Electronics has a branded location in here, and that's always hyperlinked to the home site of your organization. Just one click from wherever you are in the Office 365 apps ecosystem, you are able to get back to your home site with just one click. Let's see how you can enable that experience in your organization. I'm going to switch over to another tenant and logged in as the global administrator. I begin the journey on office.com, click on admin, which takes me to the M365 admin center. I now go into the settings, organizational profile, custom themes. Right there, here is the information, and here you can do is upload an image, and I'm going to browse to my computer, and I can upload a tenant branding image in here, and I want to make this logo clickable, and the URL that I want for this is the home site of this organization. So I'm just going to add it in there and save. It takes a few minutes for all of these changes to be applied across Office 365, but you will be able to point your users to click on your tenant brand name or the logo that appears on the suite navigation as a one-click entry to your home site in your organization. We've now applied the branding on the suite navigation, and as you can see, when I refresh this page, boom, the Contuso Electronics brand name appears, and clicking on that takes the user to the home site of this organization. The custom theme has now been applied, and when you refresh the admin center, you see the tenant brand name appearing on the top left side, the Contoso Electronics brand name. Now it's hyperlinked to your home site. Clicking on that will take you to the home site of the organization, and this will now appear in all the web applications of Office 365 and makes it an easy way for all of your users to get back to the top of your intranet, the home site.
Thanks, DC. Now let's recap what we've reviewed today. We've packed the session with many demos that we think you'll find useful, from formulating a plan for your site to a tour of how to best leverage your brand and showcase your content, and finally how to launch the home site and make it easy to access for your employees. Keep in mind, with SharePoint sites, it's easy to change your content and layout of the page on a regular cadence to best support what's going on in your organization. Here's a list of features we highlighted this session, their availability, and the links to learn more. We encourage you to check these out on your own time. And finally, here are some related videos that you should be sure to check out to learn more about various aspects of SharePoint sites that you can leverage when planning your home site. Make sure to check out the Architecting Your Intelligent Internet session to learn more about the SharePoint Global Nav hubs and site designs. And don't forget the branding session as well. We hope you learn more about how to make your home site a reality.
Thanks, Adam. And that's a wrap. These are the tips and tricks that we from the product team have to offer for you to have a successful home site launch. Hope you enjoyed the video.